What if I told you that a single event in history wiped out 60% of Europe's entire population in just a few years? Imagine for a moment the bustling cities and thriving communities of medieval Europe. Now picture more than half of those people vanishing in the blink of an eye. This isn't the plot of a science fiction novel or a dystopian film. This is a chapter from our very own history, a chilling tale of death, despair, and devastation. A time when the shadows of doom loomed large over the continent, and the Grim Reaper harvested souls without discrimination. We're talking about an event so cataclysmic, its echoes still resound in the annals of human history. An event that transformed societies, upended norms, and changed the course of civilization as we knew it. This was a time of profound tragedy, yes, but also a time of extraordinary change and adaptation. In the 14th century, a specter swept across Europe, leaving a trail of death and devastation in its wake. It was an invisible enemy, striking fear into the hearts of people, from the mighty monarchs in their stone castles to the humble peasants in their thatched cottages. This enemy didn't discriminate between rich and poor, young or old, noble or commoner. It was a great leveler, a grim reminder of the fragility of human life. This enemy, a tiny bacterium, brought mighty kingdoms to their knees and reduced thriving cities to ghost towns. It was an insidious invader, creeping silently into homes and communities, leaving chaos and despair in its wake. This was not a war, nor a famine, nor a natural disaster. This was something far more sinister, far more deadly. This catastrophe that we're about to delve into is none other than the Black Plague. Imagine a world where a tiny creature could bring about such immense devastation. So what caused the Black Plague? The answer lies in a tiny creature, the flea. Yes, these minuscule insects were the primary culprits behind one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. But they weren't acting alone. They had accomplices, the rats. But how did these small creatures manage such a feat? To understand this, we must first understand the relationship between the flea, the rat, and the bacterium known as Yersinia pestis. This bacterium was the actual agent of the Black Plague. It lived in the digestive systems of fleas, which were in turn living on rats. When a flea bit a rat, it would regurgitate the bacteria into the rat's bloodstream, infecting it. Now, these rats were not your friendly neighborhood rodents. They lived in close proximity to humans, in their homes, streets, and ships. And herein lies the problem. When a rat died, its resident flea needed a new host. And who was around? Humans. Humans were an easy target. The fleas would hop onto humans and bite them, injecting the lethal bacteria into their bloodstream. This set the stage for the rapid and widespread transmission of the disease. But it wasn't just the fleas and rats that were to blame. The living conditions during the 14th century played a significant role. Overcrowded cities with poor sanitation and a lack of knowledge about disease transmission created the perfect environment for the plague to thrive. And thrive it did. The Black Plague spread like wildfire, taking advantage of every nook and cranny, every crowded street and dirty home. It was a silent killer, creeping up on an unsuspecting population that had no idea what was coming. In a world unprepared for such a catastrophe, the Black Plague found the perfect breeding ground. Picture a society thrown into chaos, where survival became the sole focus. This was the horrifying reality at the height of the Black Plague, a pestilence so deadly it reshaped the very fabric of society. Imagine a world where every cough, every fever, every chill could signal the beginning of a fast and terrifying end. The symptoms of the Black Plague were no secret, and their onset sparked terror in the hearts of those living through these dark times. Buboes, swollen and painful lymph nodes, were the telltale signs, accompanied by fever, chills, and weakness. As the disease progressed, the afflicted would experience severe pain and delirium, their bodies covered in black patches caused by internal bleeding. The end was often near once these symptoms appeared, and it was a painful, terrifying end at that. But the horror did not end with the physical symptoms. The Black Plague induced a terror that permeated every aspect of society. It was a terror born out of helplessness, the stark realization that no one, not even the most powerful or wealthy, was safe from this invisible enemy. The plague did not discriminate. It claimed the lives of the young and the old, the rich and the poor, the powerful and the powerless. In its wake, it left a society grappling with unimaginable loss and fear. The social and economic upheaval caused by the plague was just as catastrophic. As the disease ravaged communities, trade came to a standstill. Farms were abandoned, businesses shuttered, and whole towns deserted. The machinery of society ground to a halt as people focused solely on survival, on the grim task of living through another day. The Black Plague was more than a disease. It was a force that reshaped societies, instilling a fear so deep it would echo through the centuries. It was a grim reminder of the fragility of life and the relentless march of mortality. The Black Plague spared no one, turning thriving societies into ghost towns. Once the storm passed, the world was never the same again. The Black Plague, this dark tempest of the 14th century, left behind a world that was profoundly changed. The aftermath of the plague wasn't just a matter of counting the dead and the survivors. It was about understanding how society itself had been altered in fundamental ways. Religious beliefs, for instance, underwent a significant transformation. The plague was seen as a divine punishment, a wrathful God's response to the sins of humanity. This belief sparked a wave of penitence, with people seeking to atone for their sins in hopes of ending the plague. But when the disease continued to ravage populations, faith in the church waned. The clergy, once seen as the spiritual guardians, were now viewed with suspicion and resentment. This disillusionment laid the groundwork for the Reformation and the rise of Protestantism. The plague also brought about seismic shifts in social structures. The high death toll shattered communities, leaving behind a landscape of deserted villages and towns. In the wake of such loss, feudalism began to crumble. The shortage of laborers meant that those who survived could demand better wages and living conditions. This shift in power dynamics led to the rise of the lower classes and the decline of the feudal aristocracy, setting the stage for the modern era's social mobility. Economically, the Black Plague was a catastrophe. Trade routes were disrupted, industries collapsed, and entire economies were left in ruin. But out of this economic chaos, new systems began to emerge. The scarcity of goods led to the development of market economies based on supply and demand. The need for capital to rebuild shattered communities gave rise to banking and finance systems. The Black Plague, in its devastation, forced society to innovate and adapt. The Black Plague, in its devastation, reshaped the world in ways no one could have imagined. History, they say, is our greatest teacher, and the Black Plague was a stern instructor indeed. As we delve into the lessons learned from this catastrophic event, we find ourselves staring into a mirror of our past, reflecting on our present, and contemplating our future. The Black Plague underscored the link between sanitation and health. The streets of the 14th century were far from clean, a breeding ground for disease-carrying pests. The plague served as a grim reminder of the importance of cleanliness and sanitation, a lesson we carry with us today as we strive to maintain clean environments in our cities and homes. Another lesson from the plague was the danger of overcrowding. The tightly packed living conditions of the era facilitated the rapid spread of the disease. This has taught us the value of proper urban planning and population management. Today, we understand the importance of providing adequate living spaces and ensuring the health of our communities. The plague also highlighted the value of medical knowledge. In the 14th century, the understanding of diseases and their transmission was rudimentary at best. The Black Plague spurred advancements in the medical field, driving the development of more scientific approaches to disease control. It underscored the importance of research, understanding, and education in combating health crises. This lesson rings true even today as we continue to fight against various diseases. The Black Plague was a catastrophic event that shook the world to its core. But from this calamity emerged lessons that have shaped our understanding of health, urban planning, and medical science. It served to remind us of our vulnerabilities and the importance of preparedness. As we remember the Black Plague, we also remember its lessons. It's a testament to our ability to learn, adapt, and overcome. We've come a long way since those dark days, but the lessons learned continue to guide us. While the Black Plague was a dark chapter in our history, it also taught us valuable lessons that continue to inform our present. From the ashes of the Black Plague rose a new world, forever marked by its scars. A world that had been ravaged by a disease so deadly, it obliterated more than a third of Europe's population in the 14th century. A world that had been forever changed, but not without gaining invaluable lessons and insights from this catastrophic event. The Black Plague, also known as the Bubonic Plague, was a turning point in human history. It was not just a health crisis, but a societal and economic one as well. It disrupted the status quo, leading to significant shifts in power economic structures, and cultural norms. It was a grim reminder of the fragility of human life and the interconnectedness of our world. But as we reflect on this devastating period in history, it's essential to recognize the resilience and adaptability of humanity. Despite the immense suffering and loss, societies managed to rebuild and even thrive in the aftermath. And it was from the ashes of the plague that we saw the dawn of the Renaissance, a time of unprecedented growth in art, science, and thought. Fast forward to today, and we find ourselves facing another global health crisis. And while the context may be different, many of the lessons from the Black Plague remain relevant. The importance of public health measures, the need for international cooperation, the role of science in combating disease. These are all echoes from our past that resonate loudly in our present. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? But it's also a powerful reminder of our capacity for resilience and adaptation. We've faced incredible challenges before and emerged stronger, more enlightened, and more connected as a result. The Black Plague was a dark chapter in our history, but it was also marked by incredible human strength and resilience. As we look back at the Black Plague, we are reminded of our resilience and our capacity to adapt and overcome. It is a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, our ability to face adversity head-on, and our unwavering determination to build a better future, no matter the challenges we face. The Black Plague was a stark reminder of our vulnerability and our strength. Indeed, it has shown us how an unforeseen catastrophe can shake the very foundations of our society, yet also how humanity's resilience and ingenuity can rise to the occasion. Our journey through the Black Plague has taken us from the chilling onset of the disease through its horrifying peak to the profound aftermath. We've seen how it affected every facet of life, from the personal to the political, and how its echoes still reverberate today. But more than a historical event, the Black Plague serves as a mirror of our own times. It reminds us that we have faced down enormous challenges before and emerged stronger and wiser. It underscores the importance of science, empathy, and community in overcoming crises. As we face the challenges of today, may the lessons of the past guide our way forward. Until our next historical journey, stay curious and keep exploring.